All right, welcome to the Utah Stories program, ladies and gentlemen. Today on the show, we are going to travel from the suburbs of Salt Lake City in Murray to downtown Salt Lake City to start the program with some very cool things about living along the Wasatch Front. We're going to show this amazing Jordan River Trail and how people are river rafting it, and the kids are enjoying it, families are out on the trail. It truly is one of the coolest things about living here in Salt Lake City, especially the suburbs, which I think after living in Sugar House near downtown, the suburbs can be kind of depressing for the lack of walkability, for the lack of local businesses, and the abundance of chain stores. So I'm going to show you the coolest thing about living in the suburbs, and I'm going to show you how to bike to downtown from the suburbs in Salt Lake City. That's what we're going to show first on the show, and then we're going to get into going into the problem, the increasing problem of homelessness in Salt Lake City and in Utah. And I'm going to share with you some of the comments we've received. We've gotten dozens and dozens of comments on our homeless coverage, including a letter to Mayor Mendenhall from some visitors who came here from North Carolina, and what they found that was kind of shocking in Salt Lake City concerning homelessness. And then reaction to our story from last week, which the unofficial mayor of the homeless encampments, her name is Stacy Johnson. I interviewed her, and she said the mayor had lied to her. I have comment back from the mayor's office on what the mayor's office says about that accusation of her being lied to and the homeless people being lied to. So very cool program for you today. And those of you joining us on Instagram, this is going to be live streamed in its entirety on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So you can just go to YouTube, type in Utah Stories, you'll find our live stream. We're going to be ending the live stream on Instagram momentarily, but I thank you all for joining me on the preview of what you can get. And you can also watch this episode later on. When you go home, you can pull it up on YouTube. So I'll end the live stream now on Instagram. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you on YouTube. All right. So now I want to get into it. What I had was quite incredible was we had all these comments coming from you guys about homelessness, and it was mostly in the realm of negativity. I mean, it wasn't like, yeah, we should have a lot more compassion for the homeless. It's become an untenable situation, and the homeless people, the homeless population, is not getting the care they need. They're not having a place to camp and stay, and so they're staying in the downtown metro area on the streets, in parking structures and medians. You're finding them everywhere because there is no other place for them to be. And so I want to share some of the comments I got from Reddit, but before I do, I want to show you and talk about the Jordan River Parkway Trail. And I've been working on a little documentary film that I'm going to present in about 2 more weeks, hopefully. And this is footage from that film. But this is a trail near my home in Murray. This is a trail I didn't even know existed. It's called the Murray Canal Trails. And all along this canal trail, you see these incredible waterfowl, geese, ducks. It's a really cool trail where you cross over the Cottonwood Creek. And this was a few weeks ago when a lot of water was running down there. And the trail eventually leads to Wheeler Farm. And at Wheeler Farm, it's a historic, preserved farm to a degree. And they've got some old pioneer cabins. They've got all these animals. It's an awesome place to take your kids. Then coming out of Wheeler Farm, heading down, I believe it's 7200 South, I found this group of people who were preparing to navigate on boat the Jordan River, which I did not even know you could do until about a year ago. And this guy, Eric, really cool guy, I just happened to bump into him. He is running this really cool operation with these kids, teaching them how to appreciate the ecology, the wildlife on the river, and basically learn how to navigate and go in a boat on the river. And I talked to him and I talked to his crew and watched these kids go and launch their boats. And I just thought, man, this is so awesome, because if you grew up in Utah, especially along the Wasatch Front, you might remember the Jordan River. It really has kind of been known as being sort of a cesspool, where you would just get news reports of bodies being found in the river, garbage, tires, people dumping garbage in the river. It was just a nasty river. And thanks to this Jordan River Commission, Soren Simonson is running that now with Ari Bruning, who's the director of Envision Utah. They've really cleaned up this river, and they've really gotten to locals to take ownership over the both the ecology and the cleanliness of the water. They found ways to get less wastewater entering the river, and the river doesn't stink anymore, and there's not like sludge and nastiness. It's just incredible, this turnaround that's happened just in the last, I'd say, 15 years. So I was flying, showing this, and then I was flying my drone, and then sadly my drone hit a branch and went into the river. But that happens. You fly drones, and you have to once in a while face the consequences of not navigating properly. But this is the group. They're just going down the river, and it was really cool to watch and witness this happening. So I'm going to do a full story about Eric. His name's Eric Bonin, and he operates this Summit, I believe it's called Summit Outdoor Adventures, Summit Journeys, and they facilitate transformative outdoor experiences to help mostly children and kids realize the ecology and the importance of the environment and nature. And one thing that's also cool that's happened along the Jordan River is Tracy Aviary has opened up a satellite office, because all this amazing water, all of these water birds have showed up. And this was a stork. I just want to back up a little bit. I found just hanging out. This stork was just hanging out, and really cool to see. I've seen ibis. I've seen sandhill cranes. But that is the conclusion of my footage of the good, and cycling to downtown Salt Lake City is so easy along that trail. I encourage everybody to go and do it, and just take precaution in the heat, because you need a lot of water. I went there yesterday with my little girl, and it was extremely hot. But now I want to switch gears, and I want to show you the site of the abatement that I covered last week, what it looks like now. So they've totally cleared out this site. This is where I'd say about 40 people were camping, and now the health department came in, they cleared out the area, and you can see there's probably about 20 or 30 acres here. There's no homeless people anymore until you get underneath the bridge where there's shade, and I just decided to walk down here and see what was here. Stacy Johnson again said this would be a perfect place for us to be and have our own camp, but the health department kicked them out. And then you see there's still a few tents there, and probably these people are getting harassed by the cops and they got to move their tents. But the impact of not allowing people to camp and not allowing sanitation services such as dumpsters or porta potties to come in, even if they're donated, is that you see homeless people all over our streets right in Metro downtown Salt Lake, because they really don't have anywhere else to go. They don't really want to be here, a lot of these people. They would rather be camping out in a field somewhere. But this is where St. Vincent's is. This is where they get free meals. And right now we see more people. This is really kind of sad. More people on Main Street. This used to be my favorite part of Main Street in downtown, right in front of Sam Weller Zion Bookstore. This is now all boarded up. You see homeless people using drugs, a lot of them out in the open, doing drug deals, a lot of them sleeping. They're not all drug addicts. Some people just have really nowhere else to go, and they're hanging out in the shade. But, a lot of the comments, which I want to read now, are negative toward the homeless people because they're doing this. They're just sleeping in the middle of the sidewalk. They're hanging out. They might be drinking or using drugs. But there's the other side of the coin, which is they really don't have anywhere else to go. And if you can switch to the camera view now, that I want to read these comments, and I want to read what I got from Reddit. And I appreciate Reddit a lot, because really that is the authentic voice of people living in the inner cities of Salt Lake City and what's going on with the way they see things. But before I get it to the Reddit comments, I want to read this letter to Mayor Mendenhall from people who came here from North Carolina. This letter reads, "Dear Mayor Mendenhall, my wife Kathy and I recently flew into Salt Lake City and stayed at the Grand America, 2 visits, 5 nights. From Salt Lake City, we took a road trip to Jackson, Wyoming, then Zion and Bryce National Parks, did one big loop. While in Salt Lake City, we loved the Grand America, the Mormon Church Museum, the Family Search Library, Natural History Museum, Red Butte Gardens, and Ruth's Diner. But we would have trouble recommending to our friends a visit to Salt Lake City. Our concern is with the homeless problem immediately around the hotel and up Main Street toward Temple Square. In the daytime, it's heartbreaking. At night, we would never venture out. I know the matter is complex, but please see what you can do to more effectively address the needs of the homeless people. We don't want Salt Lake City to become another city to avoid." And that's written sincerely from William Hooper from Durham, North Carolina. So more comments we received on what's going on. This is the article. Again, I'll pull it up. Salt Lake City Mayor Mendenhall lied to the homeless people. Stacey Johnson claims. Did she really lie? This is what that article looks like on Utah Stories. These photos are by Robin Pendergrass, who was on the show. He's a New York Times photographer and really amazing photographer. But the comments that we received from Reddit, I want to read you those now. The first half of this article rubs me the wrong way because it reinforces the idea that the only way to be compassionate to homeless people is to let them do whatever they want. Allowing these massive camps to fester and grow forever in a state of anarchy will never be a good solution. I agree. But the second half of the article, this Lamp 37 writes, touches on the real, incredibly frustrating problem. The state refuses to put real money towards this problem. The homeless crisis will never be solved without a massive investment in housing, healthcare, rehab, other social services for these people, in which many cases should be court mandated as part of a diversion program for petty crime offenders. This state, and every other state too, really would rather these people just die than to take care of them. So what I have to say about that is that the problem is most people don't even understand how much we're actually already spending on homeless services. We had Scott Howell in this program, and he made a claim that we're spending over $300 million on homeless services right now, and it could be approaching as much as $500 million. And we immediately had someone call out and say, hey, that is absolutely incorrect. The state legislature only allocated $50 million to this program. And then, but what I want to point out to you is that there are so many homeless silos currently operating right now that are all doing their own different services. And if you add up all those different silos of services, including Department of Workforce Services, including the Shelter the Homeless organization, which owns all the properties that the homeless people could stay on, and then Road Home, and then things like Public Health Department, and then Salt Lake City PD and Emergency Services, I really think Scott Howell is correct. It's close to $500 million we're spending on homeless services right now. And that's for a total of about 6,500 individuals. And Scott Howell pointed out that it would be better we just write these people checks. And if we did write these people checks and we're spending $500 million. The amount that these people would get a check for is about $65,000 apiece. And so I think looked at in those terms, I don't think that we are doing a good job. This article by the Deseret News, I want to point out, it's titled, "Time's Up. Housing Crisis Pandemic Fallout Has caught up to Utah. Homelessness is on the rise." And this points out that we are pumping hundreds of millions of dollars to addressing homelessness over the past several years. And what we're finding is that despite the homeless system spending over $100 million in direct costs in 2017, direct and indirect costs, that ballooned over $300 million in 2019. We are getting more and more homeless people. And what we're finding is that homelessness has gone up by 14% in 2021, and it just keeps going up and up and up. The thing that the article points out at the end is that this is happening not just in Utah, it's happening everywhere. Every single state is facing a homeless problem because of the housing shortage. And what we're really beginning to understand is that while we're experiencing this sort of homeless and housing crisis here in Utah, you really need to understand, if we could switch the camera back over, that would be great, is that this is a nationwide problem, but Utah, I think we consider ourselves as a state that follows the lead of California almost on everything. If California does it, we should do it. If California is developing free homes for the homeless, we should develop free homes for the homeless. And we're not examining the return on investment of homeless services properly. That was what the conclusion was of the audit report that was done way back in November last year. They concluded that we are not tracking the money, we're not tracking the outcomes, we're not seeing how best we could spend money. And when I talk to homeless people on the ground who are actually suffering, they don't say, "Hey, build another shelter or build another program, get more staff in place." All they really want is a safe place to camp and put their stuff. And I think that's what the state agency leaders don't understand. They're spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on mostly administration costs. And I'm sure all these administrators have the very, very best of intentions. But what homeless individuals actually want is not to stay in a resource center, as we found out over and over again, not to have to check all of their stuff and be scanned. They want to just simply stay in a place where their stuff is safe and where they can feel safe. And we're not providing that. Instead, we are constantly moving the homeless people out of these camps. And yeah, these camps get bad. They get full of drug use. Stacy Johnson admitted that this camp that they abated last week, it was absolutely getting full of crime. It was getting smelly. Garbage was piling up. But this was because they didn't even have a dumpster. I just strongly believe that if there was a 20-acre plot of land and there was a minimal amount of laws and rules that people had to follow, and then the homeless, like Stacy Johnson, who wanted to maintain the rules, had something like an HOA committee where they decide on if somebody needs to leave the camp. And if somebody is abusing the rules or breaking the rules, they need to leave. I think that could be the basis for getting people out of the middle of downtown where visitors are seeing and local businesses are experiencing the worst of homelessness, and getting these people the ability to get jobs. Because if you go back and watch the interview we did with Stacy Johnson last week, she said when Fort Pioneer was doing well and there was like 300 people there, this was the camp that was right under 600 South, there were 50 people who actually had jobs they were going to every day. And everybody at the camp had their own job. Everybody at the camp had to keep their little area clean. And they had pickup duties and they had camp duties. if that kind of situation existed, that would be so far superior to where we are now. So I decided I would get on the phone and try to talk to the mayor about why that can't exist. Why can't we have a camp like that today? And I want to share with you what I was told by Mayor Mendenhall's homeless PR person named Andrew Johnson. I'm going to play for you about half of my interview with him. I'm going to play for you the second half of it so that you can understand what their perspective and why a camp like this, at least from the mayor's perspective, cannot exist. I'll start that clip now.
Of it, but pulling it off is sort of another deal altogether.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for talking to me. We started this sort of podcast. Can you hear it? Where we have these homeless leaders come in. I could forward you a link to the one I did with Scott Howland. I think let's show. And if you'd like to have you address these issues and maybe just talk about it, because it just seems, let's show our website. Really inhumane. Another guest we had on was Robin Pendergrass from the New York Times photographer, and there's homeless people dying. Can you show the? Yeah, can you take that black screen off? Thanks. Yeah, there we go. Willing to maybe come on and address that?
Yeah. If you can go through Andrew Wittenberg, if you wouldn't mind to schedule stuff, but we'd be happy to take part because, this is complex and it does deal with, your example of the heat is working with Salt Lake County to open all their facilities for cooling centers in the daytime, public facilities, whether it's the libraries, the senior centers for daytime, and then the rec centers for shower use in evenings. We're working through trying to get as many resources out there as possible, but it is difficult. So, I think we're always happy to participate in those.
Okay, great. I'll talk to Wittenberg about that. Okay. I'm going to...
Still there?
Andrew. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. So, in summary, Mr. Johnson says that there's no money. They've talked to the state about this option of doing a big homeless camp. That there's just simply no money to hire an agency to do it. And I believe him. Of course, he's telling the truth. And I think that when any political organization is going to look into creating something like a camp, they don't want it to be a disaster. They want to have a budget and funding to go to it so that it could look like a success. But I think that if something like this were allowed, like Fort Pioneer that we saw for 5 months underneath the freeway was doing fine, then why not give it a shot? Introduce to the community in Salt Lake. This is a pilot program. We're going to try it out. We're going to see how it operates, and hopefully this gives a lot of the homeless people who are currently suffering some relief, but we don't know. I think Utah needs to take a leadership position on this. I think rather than just saying, oh, well, other states have shown, other cities have shown, this doesn't really work, so we're not even going to try it. I think they need to try it. We need to try that because small businesses are suffering. Utah residents are suffering. Visitors to Salt Lake City are also suffering. There's just too many problems associated with the resource centers not having the resources to help the homeless in the way that they need to be helped. And rather than just saying, oh, yeah, it doesn't work anywhere else, so it's definitely not going to work here, we should take the homeless leaders who, under the model of Other Side Academy, should be formerly homeless people and say, hey, we need you to run this camp. We need you to be in charge. You understand homeless people. We're politicians. We're, bureaucrats. We don't understand the issue like you do. Why don't you run this camp for us? And do it like that. And I think doing an experiment, a pilot program like that would be far superior to what we have today. And I even, found this really cool company that I'm not saying this could happen right away, but I found this amazing company called Boxable. and they offer portable housing units for $50,000 with bathrooms. And, we're trying to get this tiny home community built, and it keeps getting stalled over and over again because the building costs are very, very high. And, building anything in Utah right now, because all of our construction companies are so tapped out and all of our builders are so busy, it's just incredibly expensive. Why not have prefabricated housing units brought in at $50,000 a pop that can be moved? This boxable company has been highlighted by Elon Musk with Tesla, and I think that that could be a very viable option for making this happen. And I'd just like to know why not. If you want to leave me a comment below, I think that would be if you could switch it out, Chris, that'd be great. If you could leave a comment below on why this wouldn't work, or what's the downside, I think it could be a sizable investment where the money's not just being wasted. Because what I see is going on with the health department, they go in and they bust up these homeless camps. They end up destroying dozens and dozens of tents, and these tents go to the landfill. If we at least invested in some housing infrastructure that can be portable and moved around, that would be such a better investment than all the police overtime hours, the tents, the tarps, the blankets, everything that's ending up in the landfill, that's coming from Volunteers of America, that's coming from our donations, our tax dollars, that's just literally just getting trashed every time they move homeless people around. And so that's one idea. And so I'm going to leave it there. And in our next segment, I'm going to show you the massive amount of difficulty I have had in attempting to follow the money. I've been trying to research where homeless money is going, how it's being allocated, how it's being tracked. And I want to show you how incredibly convoluted it is. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to take a break. We'll come back in about 5 minutes. Thanks for watching.